Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Mad Mamluks podcast. My name is Sim. Along with me is my co-host Murtaza, aka Mort, and today we have Dilly Hussain as a guest all the way from Bedfordshire. Is it?
Bedford, yeah. Bedfordshire is a bit posh, but yeah, it'll do.
Okay. Before we get started, I'm going to quickly mention our sponsors. Please check them out on the links below in the episode description. Halfardeen.com. You brothers having difficulty finding a spouse, check out halfardeen.com. It is a private website. Your information doesn't get displayed to all the different aunties in your neighborhood. So it's great in the sense that it's private and it makes you matched up with the right people who, depending on your answers to their questionnaire, they'll match you up accordingly. So beautiful website that Baba Ali set up. Secondly, we have mywasiya.com, Islamic wills. It's not going to be working for the brothers in the UK who are hopping on, but it's for U.S. residents who are looking to make a Sharia compliant will within 15 minutes. If you have all your answers ready to go, set it up. Avoid family drama after someone passes away, God forbid, but make sure that you look into that. It's very simple to set up. I think if you use our link below, you'll get a discount on the website. So make sure you check that out. And thirdly, there is Wahid investing in stocks and other financial industries carries a lot of risk in terms of not risk for your money, but risk for your akhirah in terms of that you could be investing in haram companies that are involved in non-Sharia compliant business practices. So Wahid Invest is making sure that your money is going towards the right sources or towards the right Sharia compliant companies. With that being said, I also wanted to give a shout out to my dad who funded a lot of this podcast with a lot of investment, and Shahid Munir, shout out to you, and my father-in-law as well. Big believers in this podcast, and they both started this podcast essentially with their financial backing, and alhamdulillah for that. And I know I never done that before, and I just want to give him a quick shout out for that. That being said, Dilly Hussain, welcome to the show. Glad to have you on. When you tweeted at us the other day, your boys in Bedford, they're loyal, man. They like, hey, this guy Imran Munir, he's friends with our boy. Man, I'm gonna be friends with him. I got like I got like stormed with friend requests, and I'm like, man, I love these guys already. These guys are awesome. This is the kind of brotherhood that some of us in certain cities around the country just are missing. And it's mainly because there's just a lack of Muslims in some of these cities. So that's something I always loved about the UK. That everyone runs really tight. They have their groups, just friend circles, and very,
Absolutely.
very beautiful guys. I just hope they don't get scared off by my jewelry and my crazy looks.
Not at all. The brothers up in the UK got enough love for the Mad Mamluks.
Awesome, awesome. All right, man. So we had a podcast about the actual fight itself. I know Dilly for a while now, and I know he's a huge fight fan, and I know Mort is a huge fight fan. Sheikh Amr, he's not here with us today, but he was supposed to. He had some hospital-related issues, so please keep him in your duas. We talked about the actual fight itself in the previous podcast, but in this segment or this podcast right now, what we want to do is break down the effect that Khabib is having across the Muslim world. Really, we want to break that down because he's having an effect that no one has had over the past 10 years easily, right? Maybe 20 years.
Absolutely.
And we want to just break down this phenomenon because there's people uh, who are like rock star scholars, superstar scholars who, you know, they called out MMA for some of its haram aspects, and their followers are just rebelled against them. Like, how dare you call Khabib? So the loyalty is running deep with Khabib right now. The sentiment is deep, and we want to break it down and see what this phenomenon is all about. So, Dilly, when did you first find out about Khabib?
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Assalamu alaikum, my dear brothers, the dedicated listeners, the supporters, the haters, the critics, the fans. Bismillah, may Allah bless you all. When I first heard about Khabib, well, I've been watching him from his very first fight, his first UFC fight in January 2012. And me and my younger brother were big UFC fans simply because boxing has arguably, and is still experiencing a very dead period, you know, from the days of Tyson and Holyfield. You know, boxing arguably has been somewhat dead. I mean, boxing in Britain has been somewhat revived due to Anthony Joshua and so forth. And obviously you got Wilders and the Tyson Fury fight coming up. And you obviously got Canelo and GGG. But generally boxing has been lagging, right? You know, the superstars and the greats, we're just simply not having that era anymore. So obviously a lot of people turn to UFC and MMA. So I've been watching UFC since about 2006, maybe even about 2005. And I first saw Khabib, his first fight in 2012. And he was like, he was a bit more chubbier than he was then. He fought at welterweight, I believe. And, you know, when he first won, he was suplexing man left, right and center, slamming them and everything. And after he won, he was like, Alhamdulillah. He kept saying, Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. His English wasn't that great either. I mean, it's not great now, but it was definitely not great back then either. And he just kept making continuous, you know, shukr to Allah and, you know, thanking Allah for his victory. And me and my brother were just like, wow, who is this brother? You know? And like, when I mean superior wrestling skills, I mean, he's a champion, a double world champion in Russian Sambo. Which is different to jiu-jitsu, right?
Yeah, just for the listeners who aren't initiated, for the uninitiated, let's explain what Sambo is. Sambo is like a type of jiu-jitsu, right?
No. Well, yes.
It's like a wrestling. It's like ground game.
Sambo is based off of judo.
Right.
Yes. But it's a kind of Russian style. Yeah, it's a Russian style. It's grounded in the Caucasus and the Russian area, and it's something which is taught in the Russian military as well.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily. It's more contact with the hands as well, as opposed to just moving around and tussling on the floor.
Right.
It is a bit unique, but yes, you can categorize judo, wrestling, sambo, jiu-jitsu, all of that in one umbrella.
Right.
But sambo is somewhat unique.
And it was made popular by Fedor Emelianenko, that
absolutely
the heavyweight that everyone really put. He probably put MMA on the map just by his popularity.
Yeah.
Anybody that's been following MMA knows that like Fedor is probably like the godfather of.
Absolutely.
Some people say
he's the Don Corleone. He's the Don Corleone of MMA. Even though he specialized in kickboxing, he obviously utilized sambo as well. And yeah, we watched him in 2012, me and my brother. As I mentioned, his English wasn't great. All we remember was there was this brother with a beard like this, a no mustache, and just praising Allah after every fight. And we were like, Alhamdulillah, you know, who is this guy? And we literally just saw him from 2012 just beat all his opponents humbly, no trash talking, and literally just dominance, pure dominance in the octagon. I mean, people just couldn't deal with this guy's superior wrestling skills. There were questions with regards to him being a one-dimensional fighter, you know, his striking ability and all that kind of stuff. But anyone who watched the McGregor fight now knows that stuff's all been put to bed now.
Right.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no question about his skill. People were always worried about, can he strike? I mean, I was one of those people that worried because
so was I.
Is an excellence. I mean, he's a knockout artist, right?
Absolutely.
And his counter punches are amazing. And like him or hate him, you cannot deny his skill. The man has a straight left that will take most people out. I mean, absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. And so I was one of the guys that was worried about Khabib going like toe to toe in southpaw with him. I was like, you better watch out. But I think Khabib just, like Muhammad Ali would say, he shook up the world. I mean, absolutely, bottom line.
My pre-match, look, people were asking me for pre-match predictions. And I said, look, every second that Khabib stands is a threat that there's a risk that he will lose the fight. That was my pre-match analysis. But he stood, he exchanged, and he looked like the better boxer. And he put McGregor on his backside. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it was dominance. It's dominance standing, dominance on the ground, dominance in ground and pound, dominance in wrestling. It was an all-rounded, comprehensive defeat.
It was a clinic for all intents and purposes, and a lot of people are saying that it doesn't even warrant a rematch. It was that thorough, and yes, exactly. For all intents and purposes, it does not warrant a rematch. There would never be a rematch granted. If it was, it will be just purely for money, and because they know that they can make a ton of money on this. So I'm expecting them to put their principles aside and take the rematch. They're gonna milk this for as long as they can.
Look, McGregor is a cow cash, yeah? He's a cow cash. He's literally there. He's a money man, right? And unlike the Diaz fights, there was no one coming up or down a weight. Yeah, they fought at their natural standing weight, and it was a comprehensive victory for Khabib. I have one fear, and that fear is that obviously this whole kind of discussion around, after the post-match brawl, will he even get a visa? Will he even get a green card? I have this fear because Dana is the epitome of a capitalist dog. Right?
Yeah,
and
right.
I say that because he's a liar. He lies so much, and he's all about this, right?
Yeah, totally.
And I have a fear that he said, look, if you want the UFC to give you that kind of support when it comes to reapplying for your green card, you'll have to fight McGregor again. That's my only fear. Or else there is no legitimate reason to see a rematch. there's no reason.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying that, there's a lot of good challengers that could come up. Like, if Conor wants to fight again, he should fight other people like Tony Ferguson.
Absolutely.
I mean, and I think it's fair. I mean, because there was no competition.
It wasn't.
I mean, one could argue maybe the third round Conor might have gotten an edge, but a lot of people looking at the fight were saying Khabib was just resting up. It wasn't like he was actually trying to, because he's been at a 5-round fight before, and he knows Conor's only been to the 4th round twice in his entire career. And the first was against Nate Diaz, and then now this time, right? So, I mean, you're talking about a guy that I don't know if you remember. People who followed Khabib early on in the early days will remember. I think maybe his second fight where I forgot who he was fighting, but he literally picked him up and almost threw him out of the octagon.
Yeah, literally flung him over.
Yeah,
that suplex. You see that suplex? That became like the famous Khabib suplex.
Yes.
He literally just lift you and just slam you like WWE style.
Exactly.
And no one else. I mean, the only other kind of fighter they should do things like that was Matt Hughes, right?
Yeah, he's a wrestler. He's a pure wrestler.
Yeah, but not at that consistency and frequency. Like Khabib used to lift man and just swing him and just slam him, and that's it. And it's just dominance, man.
And then I remember when he won the fight, like he put his I don't know the exact name, but the Dagestani hat on, and he makes sujood, right? And in that moment, he's like praising Allah, and I'm like, man, this guy reminds me of like Prince Nassim, like the way he just come out and be like, it's just saying Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah or like Allahu Akbar, the whole thing. And like, how I love how he always put, and it wasn't like crazy in a Tyson way, right? It wasn't like crazy Mike Tyson, I'm going to eat your kids, Allahu Akbar. It was like a genuine, Allahu Akbar, like he was genuinely praising Allah and saying the victory is really his,
Do you guys still see Prince Nassim around over there? What's he?
He was in Saudi recently, wasn't he? He was promoting a boxing prize fight.
Yes, he was.
And, he made a dua for Yemen. Yeah. So I don't know if they've kidnapped him or if he's stuck in the British consulate. I don't know. But he bravely made a dua for the Muslims of Yemen straight after the fight, which is pretty hats off to him. And that's a Prince Nassim for you. But even Prince Nassim, I personally, and we may discuss this later on, from the perspective of role models and positives and stuff like that, I don't think you can even compare Khabib to Prince Nassim.
Not even close.
Yeah, because Prince Nassim, equally should praise Allah and all that kind of stuff, but his lifestyle outside of the ring, many times did not match that.
No, of course. I mean,
for those of you,
Khabib is that he's actually like, I mean, these guys are practicing Muslims to the point where when they go back home, like they don't like. His father was asked like, "Hey, are you proud of him?" He's like, "No, we don't have pride in Islam." Like this is something given by God. It can be taken. And like that kind of mentality, you know what I mean? Like the people, I couldn't imagine. Here's the funny thing. I don't want to divert here, but I can't imagine how a non-Muslim watching that would feel. Like for us, it makes total sense. Like, oh my God, you know, like I get it, right? You know, but someone else is like, what is he talking about? Like, what kind of world is he living in? You know what I mean?
Look, for those of you, and Murtaza, I'm not sure if you've watched it either, and if the listeners, if you guys have watched an Anatomy of a Fighter, and there was the Dagestan Chronicles, right? But they followed him to Dagestan during Ramadan when he was training. And you look at that, like I was watching that with my mum. And my mum was like, Dagestan looks like back home, like Bangladesh. I was like, yeah, that's where they come from. A quiet, rundown, underdeveloped, because Dagestan is the most underdeveloped republic of Russia, right? And these men are just humble. If you look at what they're eating, how they live in, the cars they drive in, the clothes they're wearing, right? Constantly praying salat in Jama'ah, the men are not missing it. Training 8-9 hours whilst fasting. On an Eid, they're saying that, look, we go and visit our elders, right? We have to visit our elders. Just that, and I was saying to my younger brother, we're watching this and we're understanding, you know what, this is an actualization of rich Islamic values. If a non-Muslim watches this, what they're thinking, oh, that's nice, looks a bit grim, yeah? Well, that looks nice, but yeah, meh, it's a bit, but I'm watching it and I'm feeling truly, I'm awed. Right? My mom's watching it, she's like,
yeah,
really
my parents bought the fight, and never ever did they see a single MMA fight in their life.
Yeah.
And I was just shocked. I'm like, what made you buy the fight? They're like, oh, everyone's talking about it, and like, I had no idea that even uncles and aunties were talking about the fight. So and that they even knew about MMA.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, the number of like retweets, and this is kind of sad, but like you know how Khabib had that one statement where he's like, like Alhamdulillah, like tomorrow I'm gonna smash your boy, right? Inshallah, right? Boy. Yeah, people are taking that little meme and like they're putting all sorts of irrelevant things to it. But it's funny that even like Muslims who are borderline practicing or just kind of culturally, even they're taking pride in the fact that hey, like people are writing things like Team Muslim 1, Team Non-Muslim 0. Like, I mean,
wow.
Now,
stuff like that.
There has been this kind of like Clash of Civilization-esque of this fight, which I hope we can discuss later on. And that was all born out of the whole kind of pre-match press conference.
Yeah. I mean, I think that was instigated by Conor, though. I mean, I think generally what you want a character like Khabib to be an inspiration and, somebody who even non-Muslims see as an upright person, because yes, we're all in kind of damage control since the rise of ISIS or the collapse since whatever, but we're trying to show some of the good virtues of Islam, and Conor kind of hijacked that in the sense he's trying to make it seem like it's a savage versus
I mean, if we just go over some of the statements which was uttered by Conor McGregor. He called his manager, Ali Abdul Aziz, a terrorist, called his father, a coward, right? Called the Muslims of Dagestan, he said, in front of them, by them he's referring to Putin and these guys. He's saying, they push your people to the mountains. They pushed your people to the mountains. He's referring to Dagestani war there and the Mujahideen dating right back up to Imam Shamil. That was not a statement by chance. Yeah. So when you're saying
the thing is, we talked about that too, because even the Russians, if you want to go back to Imam Shamil, rahimahullah, they could not believe that he was a Muslim. Nobody in Russia, they even till this day, they say the best fighters come from the North Caucasus region, the Muslim area of Russia. Nobody denies that. They don't. As crazy as people, as heartless as people think that Russians may be, not one of them will challenge the North Caucasus. Because they know what happened. They were, and don't forget, for the longest time, they were in Ribat, which is, if anyone knows about being a Murabit and the hadith that are associated with that, they did that for centuries. I mean, they were literally the vanguard of like the Russian empires coming into Ad-Dawla Uthmaniyya. So they were
the buffer. They were the buffer. The Caucasus was the buffer.
Mm-hmm. And I think the funniest moment was when Khabib was so calm, collectively turns around and he goes, well, how come you speak English then? What happened to your language? And that was the funniest thing. Like,
It was.
That kind of just became red like the Kool-Aid man. It was so mad. I mean, that's such a simple, elegant response, and it's true because they speak their language, they have their religion,
Gaelic.
you know. And not to mention, Conor McGregor's grandfather was actually a British officer. You know,
he was a unionist.
Yes, and so I mean, if you want to compare family history, and it's.
But here's what impressed me so much, though. As much as, you know, as horrible as Conor's comments were, he does his research. He thoroughly looks into every single person on Khabib's team. He found out that, you know, Ali Abdullah was he was an informant. You know, he worked as an informant that, you know, and I just want to, because you know, when we call somebody an informant, that can be libel. But what he did was, he did not cause any damage to anyone's knowledge. The FBI actually called him uncooperative, that he was not somebody who really was helping them out in any way. So he was not one of these people who were, you know, we have this problem in America called entrapment. I don't know if you heard about that, Dilly, where they kind of rile up a young innocent brother, and then they try to get him to do something stupid. So he was not one of those type of people, just so that people understand. Yeah, there is some deceptive qualities about him, but he wasn't that kind of a person.
Hey, so I'm going to take a different approach here. Okay, I'm going to say this: the media is full of a lot of stuff, right? And what the truth is, Allahu Alam. But that guy, I mean, Ali Abdulaziz came out and said, you know what, it's all BS, right? And so if he's going to come out and say that, and we don't have any facts, I'll take his word on it and say, you know what, this guy is Conor is a fasik, and the people that are writing these things about him are fasik. I mean, they really are, right? So we haven't verified any of it. I mean, when I did my research on it, I found like a blog, like, you know, some like radical Islamophobic guy who hates Muslims had a blog about, you know, about some Pakistani terror group in America, and compiled. I mean, look, you know, there are people when they're young, they go through, they listen to different mashayikh, or you never know who's who. How many young people have been tied to terrorism because they went to a mosque in Virginia, right? Or they had, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, it's just, I don't buy it. I mean, I'm not saying he's innocent or whatever. I don't know. But I'm going to take his word as a Muslim and say, you know what? He said he didn't do that stuff. That's enough for me. I don't trust Conor. I don't trust anybody on some blog on the internet.
I think it's, you know, if you look at the press conference, right? So much racist and Islamophobic trash, right, was talking. There was no filter. There was no restriction, you know? You know, when one of the press members went, Assalamu alaikum, right? Conor picked up on that, and that's it. Assalamu alaikum, and that's all he was doing, right? Then he started pushing whiskey to his face, and then calling him a backward Sina for not drinking, right? If you look at the language, backward, rat, this kind, you know, people just may take these words as light, but you know, language is a vehicle for meaning, right? And it's a kind of language that has become very normalized when describing Islam and Muslims as a backward people, as anti-progressive. And one of the things is the social life of a Muslim. Man doesn't drink, so therefore he's backward, right? Yeah. Conor definitely did his research, but alhamdulillah, our brother held it down. He remained very patient, and he kept saying, he goes, we'll wait till 6th of October in the cage. And he kept saying that. And
that's a pretty good impression, by the way.
Yeah. No, but you know what, people don't realize this, though, is that people think this started like in 2000, you know, recently, right now, you know, or a few months ago before the fight. No, actually, if you know, I've been following this for a while, and I took a screenshot of this and put it on my Twitter, but Ariel Helwani tweeted out back in 2016, like, I think it was like April of 2016, and he said that, oh, you know what, Khabib told Rafael Dos Anjos that he can't fight in the summertime. It'd be September, October, because of Ramadan. He's like, Ramadan, and if you heard him, he's like, Ramadan is special, only once. He's like, UFC, he's like, anytime. You know what I mean?
And then Coach Kavanagh came and started.
Kavanagh goes, Jesus loves knockouts, but Muhammad wasn't a fan of summertime MMA. So what I'm saying is, back since 2016, they've been mocking him about religion simply because he practices. And me personally, I don't believe he puts his religion out there to make anybody else uncomfortable. This is just what he knows, right? They grew up in an area that is rural, and even in Russia, Eastern Orthodox Christians are very cultural about their religion. Like, they know things. Like, so they understand the sanctity of religion for them. In America, it's completely different. Like, nobody, oh, you're talking about religion, you're backward, right? Because they're trying to phase out religion here. But for him, he's just being himself. It's not like he's trying to put Islam in their face or he's making dawah that way. I don't believe, it's just his nature. And they take that and they run with it and they make a mockery out of it. So for almost 2 years, this guy's been dealing with this kind of stuff. God knows how much stuff in the background. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a lot of, and plus the fans that are leaving comments. I mean, I've seen so much stuff from the fans, like, you know,
it's disgusting.
Buzz trash and all these kind of things. You know what I mean? And like, it's just going on. And I'm just so glad now that so many Muslim fighters are coming to the UFC. I'm so happy. There's brothers from Afghanistan. There's from the Caucasus regions, other Russians.
Bosnia brothers, yeah.
I mean, a lot of them are coming in now, and I'm glad because that voice needs to be heard now.
Absolutely.
So, I think we kind of skipped over the part where this huge influx of Dagestani Caucasus fighters are coming into the UFC. Yeah. And so now we know that one of Khabib's training partners, he's also a fighter, right? The one who just got banned recently.
Zubair.
Yeah, and even Abu Bakr. And even his, there's a bunch of them that are there. Yeah.
Now, are they all part of the same team, or are they just coming from different camps?
I think the recent furor has been over brother Zubair Tukugov's fight versus Artem Lobev, who was actually central to the beef that initially kicked it all off.
So Artem Lobev is the billionaire, the Russian billionaire who's went to prison recently, right?
No. He's the fighter from UFC. He's a Russian fighter from UFC.
Who's the Russian billionaire?
And he's Connor's boy.
And that was the guy.
So that guy was calling. Basically, Artem was had been going around saying that Khabib was basically like the woman's private part, right? Okay. So Khabib goes and confronts him, and people said it was a slap, but it wasn't really a slap. He goes up there. It's a typical Russian way of talking, right? He says, "Hey," he grabbed him like this by his.
Yeah, you grabbed him like that.
Yeah, and he said, "Hey, did you say it?" And the guy is like, "No, I didn't say it. He's like, "Did you say it to my face?" The guy didn't say it. Right when he said he didn't say it, Khabib let him go, and it squashed. And the crazy thing is, Ali Abdelaziz also tried to break it up. He was there. And he says, "Let's squash it, let it go," and that was it. They walked away. There was no slap. There was no disrespect. There was none of that.
Then he went back and told McGregor, and them man flew from Ireland in a private jet, landed in New York, and they did what they did.
Yeah, they rolled with 20 to 40 different fighters.
20, 30 guys came. They threw the dolly. McGregor threw a dolly at the bus, smashed the glass, injured three fighters from taking part in a pay-per-view UFC. And what did he get? He got a little slap on the wrist. Yeah. No belts were taken off him.
And you know what's funny too is that everyone's saying, "Oh, Connor's a stand-up guy. He didn't press charges, right?" Well, did anyone on that bus press charges? Nobody did, right? So yeah. I mean, it doesn't really. At least I don't think it. I don't think Khabib pressed any charges.
Khabib didn't press any charges.
Yeah.
And regarding the post UFC 29 brawl, McGregor couldn't press charges because he punched the corner man first.
He did.
Right. So
yeah, but some people were arguing that because Abu Bakr jumped on the cage that it was like within his imminent threat to him. He didn't know, whatever. But the problem is, I mean, if they know that it would have been reviewed in the court, and if he went there, he probably would have gotten something for battery. But the point being is that
do you guys think
that he has a double standard?
Do you guys think that this storyline is kind of like concocted? So Khabib, obviously it's not concocted for him, but the way Dana White and Conor operate, it seems like they're trying to make like something that was a small incident bigger than it actually was to build hype for the fight. Is this all one of the people in the comments section is writing that this is becoming WWE? So
yeah, so for those, look, first and foremost, yeah, I mean, I don't think UFC is anywhere near the kind of acting and the kind of fakeness that the WWE, but a certain level of trash talking is required to promote a fight. And everyone knows that right now, actually maybe not right now, but at least prior to the fight, Conor McGregor essentially was UFC, right? He tells Dana to jump, says jump, and Dana says how high, right? He's the money man.
Yeah.
And for those of you who saw the immediate post-match commentary from Michael Bisping, from even Rogan, and from Dana White, it was like, whoa. It was just a pure anti-Khabib tirade. oh, he's going to get banned, he's going to get suspended, his green card. I mean, no one's even spoken about these things.
Yeah.
Yet it was constant.
Building a narrative.
Yeah, Michael Bisping, by the way, a couple of days later, he came and he apologized and he kind of retracted a lot of what he said after the fight.
Yeah.
The only person that held it down and remained consistent was Tyron Woodley. And
Yeah.
Tyron Woodley kept saying, he said, look, when a man's religion is insulted, when his family is insulted, this may not be big things for us, but it's a big thing for Khabib. We keep on forgetting this. And Tyron Woodley kept saying it. So respect to him.
Yeah.
Michael Bisping, Rogan, everyone straight after the fight, they started creating a narrative.
Yeah.
Banning him, stripping him of his championship, keeping his kitty, keeping his check, stripping him of the belt. The green card. Yeah, the discussion went all the way to green card.
And what's funny is that no one talked about a green card when Conor.
Yeah.
What happened to Conor, right? I mean, look, here's the bottom line, dude. Conor could have done anything. I mean, let's look at the crazy stuff that Conor's done. All right, first of all, he has jumped off the ring and got in the face of Jose Aldo, right? During that, with his family and his wife being right, their daughter being right there, right?
He bottled that Diaz.
He threw bottles with a Diaz, and not a Diaz even. It was even over the crowd where people were getting hit with bottles.
Yeah.
What about the young people that were there, the old people, the women, like they were saying?
That were endangered there.
Yeah, the bus incident. And here's the other thing that people don't realize because Khabib doesn't make a big deal out of it. But during the weigh-in, that man kicked his hand. Yeah. And that's his fighting hand, right?
Yeah, you're not supposed to make contact.
Yeah, you're not. And he's constantly getting rowdy. Why doesn't anybody say, hey, what about during that incident? What if it spilled out into the crowd? Because there's no cage there, right? Why are you not worried about the crowd at that point, right?
And on top of all that, on top of that thuggery that McGregor has, right? Then you've got the kind of casual racism from him, which is accepted.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Remember the thing with the Aldo that he said we'll march down to the favelas.
And I'll take over the favelas.
Yeah.
I mean, and then he said to
enslave your people.
I'm black on the bottom half, and it's just casual.
I feel like saying, boy, you're Irish, bro. I mean, you got conquered so many times. Like, stop.
You guys have a terrible colonial history. You guys didn't do that right. Like,
you guys were taking the slaves to America. Stop that. You know what I mean? Like,
it's the unionist in him. Trust me. It's the unionist in his mindset.
Yes. But here's the other thing, though. And here's the other sneaky little thing that Dana does, okay? Oh, I don't know what the Nevada State Athletic Commission is going to do. I don't know about what they're going to do. That is such a BS line because the Zuffa brothers are like their father was on that commission, like sat with them. Absolutely. And the only reason why UFC got sanctioned in Nevada is because of that pull.
Because the brothers, right?
Yeah. So the fact that Dana has no pull over the Nevada State Athletic Commission is a complete BS lie.
Look, right? Look, let's be serious. If any of us guys, whether you're an MMA fighter or a working professional that's not got permanent residency or citizenship in a particular country, and an organization as big as a UFC, right? They can vouch for you in anything. They can literally right your wrongs, yeah? Which I know Dana has probably done for McGregor and other fighters, right? And he could have easily done, he can still easily do that for Khabib, and he probably is, Allahu Alam, we don't know. But just the whole immediate post-match narrative, right? Banning, stripping, suspension, keeping the money, green card, all of it. It just was all focused on Khabib and his team. Literally, all of it.
You know what's crazy is that, look at the stuff that people get away with, like John Jones hitting a pregnant woman high on cocaine. Like,
right?
Mad.
To come back in the UFC.
Yeah. So,
you know what I mean? Like, and like, what about like Brock Lesnar testing positive for all these drugs, and they still don't give Mark Hunt the purse. Like Mark Hunt could have died in the ring. Imagine a beasted up guy like him on roids and roid rage. Absolutely. I mean, it's insane, right? And you don't do anything about it, right? And a slap on the wrist, no problem. And the reason why it's because it's money. Khabib, let's be honest here. Khabib isn't the poster boy for the UFC. He's a Muslim,
and he'll never be.
He doesn't drink. He doesn't mess around with women. I mean, he's not a poster boy for the UFC. They don't want him.
Again, for those of you who have watched Anatomy of a Fighter, there was an episode there where they tried making him do promos, right? He just can't do it. Like they showed him the film Love Actually. He looked at it, he goes, this. Love is too much. Love film's not good. Yeah,
He's too humble.
That's awesome, man.
No, but you know what he said in the fight or two was great. He's like, my father used to try to get me to do homework, and he told me. I never understood it. Then he hit me, and I understood it. It's kind of like, this is the kind of culture the man comes from. Like,
the man's he's not a poster boy. He's not a poster boy.
And you know what's crazy about that, though? I'm sorry. It's just that a lot of us, like, understand from that. Like, you know, if you tell, like, certain, like, I don't want to be racist, but, like, Anglo-Saxon, Western people that, hey, you know what? My dad used to spank the hell out of me, you know, or, like, whoop me when I was younger, right? Like, they don't really get it that much, you know? I mean, yeah, maybe, I'm sure they got maybe...
The older generations would.
Yeah,
maybe
the older generation.
Now. I'm talking about now.
Unheard of.
Exactly. And like, so, but and imagine like that, a 30-year-old man saying he's not even worried about the UFC or Nevada State. He's saying something like, my dad is going to smash me when I go home.
Yeah, he's talking about the battery he's going to get.
Yeah, you know, and like for us, we all got that. Like for us, that in the age, no matter how old I am, my dad will smash me, you know, no matter how old I am.
You know,
so we all got that.
Yeah, a lot of the comments right now are just directed against Dana White, and a lot of the listeners right now are saying that Dana White just gets away with everything. He's the one who's like laughing and giddy with Conor up there drinking alcohol, you know, completely being disrespectful to Khabib. Like Conor was disrespecting Khabib in front of Dana without any fear of repercussion.
You know what I noticed, though? I'm sorry. You know what I noticed, too, though? I don't know if you caught this, and I'll let you comment after this, Dilly. But during the press conference, I don't know if this was intentional or not, but Dana had, like, the Crusader. Yes!
Yes!
What's up with that?
And not many people noticed that.
I felt like, dude, he's saying something. Like, he's trying to pick a side.
Look, yeah, you know Joe Rogan, right? He's also, broadly speaking, he is part of the UFC brand. He recently had Sam Harris and this sellout from the UK called Majid Nawaz on his podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Look, these guys, they're ideological.
By the way, Dilly, you got to give us a little background of Majid Nawaz on a separate podcast. But go ahead.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah. We'll have to keep it all legally above board, though, yeah, because there's so much to say.
The libel laws in the UK.
the libel laws here is tight.
Wow.
We'll get to that later.
Majid Nawaz recently got paid out by the Southern Poverty Law Center.
Right, I saw that.
Really?
Yeah,
wow,
he sued them.
Oh, wow. We'll talk about that at a different time. But you know what you can do? We have different laws, so you can send me material. And I can just put it out there. I can talk about it.
Yeah, your law's libel laws a bit.
Nobody can do nothing to me over here. God bless America.
Oh,
no, but so continue on. Yeah, go ahead. You were going to say something about that whole Crusaders.
Look, I'm not surprised at all that, you know, Dana allowed that level of trash talking, right? Because whilst McGregor is a knockout artist, he's also a trash talking artist as well. He's practically built his own brand around that kind of persona. And Dana White obviously must have, behind closed doors, must have realized that Khabib really isn't reacting. He isn't reacting to this kind of trash talk. So they may have specified it towards the religion, his history, his people, his family. They pushed all the buttons. And obviously wearing the whole Crusader t-shirt, that I don't think that was a coincidence. Come on, Dana White is a smart man. You know already from the social media, because they have people following social media round the clock. Every major organization has it. And they know very well that there's a strong narrative already out there that this kind of Clash of Civilization-esque of this fight, right? And you go on there and wear a Crusader t-shirt. But that Crusader t-shirt wasn't needed to know that you're McGregor's boy. We know that already.
Yeah, no, I just kind of noticed
wear that t-shirt to tell us that already.
Yeah, it was just an observation that I picked up. And like no one else... When it happened,
not many picked up.
I took a screenshot and I'm like, yo, Amir, did you see this? Like, did you guys see what he was wearing? And I've never seen him wear that, you know, anything related to that team. Because it is actually a college team, right? But it's, I mean, I've never seen him wear anything remotely related to that.
Well, wait, was it the that one kit that the UK team has that resembles like a Crusader type of
No. It's
kit?
actually...
There's a lot of stuff in the UK that resembles a Crusader.
No, there was a soccer team, a football team, that had a Crusader type kit. It was like a red cross.
This just says Crusaders on it. Like it's
open.
Like,
that actually says Crusaders? Okay.
Yeah.
What Simi's referring to is this kind of outfit which a lot of English football fans and cricket fans wear. And it's basically of Crusader. They have the metal gear and they have the red cross.
Yeah.
And a lot of like England fans wear it to cricket and football. No, if Dana White wore that'd be a bit too much, I think.
Yeah, I mean, what you're talking about is like there's a place called the Holy Cross, the university, and the team is called Crusaders, and so it's called the Holy Cross Crusaders, and it's like in bold letters, Crusaders.
Wow. So,
yeah, and so, but here's the other thing I just wanted to mention real quick though, but isn't it funny how imagine if Khabib was a Jewish fighter out of Israel, and they were mocking the Holocaust and like Hitler or any of those kinds of things, right? Making jokes about how, like, let's just replace it a little bit. You know how he goes, oh well, they forced your people to the mountains, right? But what if they said, oh well, they forced your people into ovens, or they forced you into a railroad cart? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, imagine the backlash that would have happened at that, right?
Of
and
course.
for sure they would have been like, oh, you can't we don't appreciate anti-Semitism. We're going to cancel this event. And I don't think we have to prove to the audience or anybody out there that there is a clear bias in terms of the way they deal with.
It's abundantly clear. Yeah. It's undeniably present.
Dilly, and a lot of people on our podcast, they message us and they say, you know what, Sim, you don't understand capitalism. When you're talking about capitalism, you're just off. They're thinking I'm talking about the free market economy. And this is exactly what I mean about capitalism. When there's money to be made, all these type of things that are abrasive to the Brazilians that Aldo represented, to the Caucasus regions, these insults they get put aside. All your principles and things that mean anything that means anything to you gets put away because money is king. And this is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about capitalism as an ideology. And for whatever reason, it just doesn't connect with a lot of listeners when I'm talking about it. But they just don't understand the shahada of capitalism is make money.
Yeah. So let me just make an interesting thing here. So capitalism in its pure sense is different than what we're talking about when you see Western capitalism, or specifically U.S. capitalism, right? Because, for example, there is like Nordic capitalism, right? There is different types of capitalism that we see implemented today. And in American capitalism, it doesn't care about any morals, any laws. Basically, it doesn't matter legal or illegal. The main drive is profit and, big fish eat little fish, cutthroat. That has become corporate America. And here's the funny thing with all that, okay? This is what I noticed as a parallel. People think that, Khabib is just taking a stand that, he's not going to fight in UFC because of all this. But I think there's a greater wisdom in that. And what it is he knows they worship money. And so he's cutting their god off at the head, saying, you know what? You want to threaten me with money? Take your money. I don't even care about it.
Yeah.
I'll go back to the Caucasus and I'll have a great merry old life, wrestling bears, screw you. I think that's such a big statement, because for everybody who is worried about speaking the truth and holding to their principle, their number one concern is not always, in most cases, not harm to themselves, but their livelihood. And so he's saying that if you think you can control me by money, I don't need a dime from you.
And anyway, 50 Cent offered him $2 million anyway to join Bellator. So let's see. He asked for location, so let's see how far that goes. But I think just a brief note on the topic of capitalism, right? I think so. There's two conceptions. When you speak to the layman, for those who have a very kind of rudimentary understanding of capitalism, they just think the free market, and the survival of the fittest in terms of the world of business, etc. But what comes with capitalism is ideology.
Yeah.
And it has many madhabs, right? It'll have neoliberalism, it has secularism, it has globalization, it has different elements, it has different tentacles, So capitalism is like the crown where profit, margin, it dictates all, and under it comes certain ideologies which kind of facilitate that goal. And UFC, like the entire sporting industry, is part of, the 21st century American capitalism. Now that obviously led to a whole different discussion on social media amongst Muslims. And that was obviously the natural, is UFC halal or haram? Should we be supporting our brother Khabib in this sport? Literally, that debate is still going on. I woke up today, I looked at my newsfeed on Facebook, and it's still happening. It's still happening. And I didn't watch the previous podcast. So I think for your listeners, I'm going to say something which I kind of posted the other day on Facebook, because a few people were clocking my posts and they were saying, subhanAllah, brother Dilly, you're promoting UFC and UFC is a haram sport. I haven't watched the first episode, but from my understanding, I think, striking the face for money as a living, I think the Islamic standpoint that is very much clear by consensus, unless you guys.
So my own understanding is that it's not just that one opinion. There's other opinions regarding the competitive fighting, right? Now, if you want to talk about UFC in terms of the objectification of women, and you're talking about the alcohol, the promotion itself, yes, of course, there's not much debate, okay? But in terms of what I was discussing with Sheikh Amr, or some people can say arguing with him, was the hadith that they're applying, the ulama who are saying that UFC is haram, was that hadith contextual to competitive sparring? Let's just say competitive fighting, because yes, of course, striking the face is haram in terms of, like, I don't ever hit my kids in the face. They got a whack on the butt, but they don't ever get hit on the face. We know that the face is sacred, but now when you want to learn or train for fighting, there's no way if you don't know how to take a punch to the face, you don't know how to fight. That's all. I mean, if anyone has done MMA, if you can't handle a punch to the face, if it's your first time getting hit on your face, you're going to go down.
But Ikhwan, I think the discussion mainly focuses around, and if there is ever a difference, the only ever difference I've heard is that does that hadith, and by the way, there's 2 or 3 variations of that hadith. One which says when you strike your brother. So the hadith, in one of the narrations, it specifies brother. And another one is quite generic. So if there is a difference, it'd be pertaining to whether this applies to Muslims only or generic. That's the only difference that I've ever heard.
Okay.
But from the understanding that I follow, and it, I've not heard a different opinion, not in the United Kingdom anyway, or from the ulama that I follow in the East, that I think is, by consensus nearly, that, striking the face, especially for money in a sport of this nature,
but Dilly, all this stuff came up recently. For decades there was boxing, and we never heard a single thing from the ulama regarding boxing.
We did in the UK. We heard it in the UK.
In the US, we didn't.
Yeah, when Prince Nassim was boxing, there were people saying this is haram, and Amir Khan is still boxing, and he's saying, but I think some of the brothers were doing things outside the ring, which is even more haram. Yeah. But the thing is,
look, I'm gonna say it like this, okay? From a religious perspective, I'm not an alim or a sheikh, so I can't tell you what would be allowed or not. But I feel like a lot of people that are saying that's haram and that's like this, they got a boatload of haram they're doing already, and I feel like they're just hating on somebody. Like I'm not saying the ulama. I'm talking about people who are the haram police, who they got a side chick on the side. They're going out to the club in the evening, and they come out on on Twitter and be like, "Yo, it's haram. You shouldn't be watching that. You should be defending." Other people, not that, And I feel like, look, man, I mean, at the end of the day, if you want to play the haram police, that's fine. But this is real life. People are doing this. People get involved in this. In Russia and Dagestan, you have an option. Either you fight or you join an extremist military, right? And I mean, or like, there's no other option for you to make money there. A lot of people, I'm not saying that, it's a justification, but I understand why he got into the UFC. I understand why he makes money.
Murta, I'm going to say something, my dear brother. And, the term haram police. I used it in a post regarding Khabib. The day after the fight or the day before the fight, I used the term haram police, and it was the first time I've ever used that term, and I dislike it very much. I dislike it very much because that term is usually spewed by those Muslims who don't like being advised, who don't like being told home truths about their habits and their lifestyle. It tends to be spewed by those who are either not practicing or are of a liberal progressive outlook, right? And essentially, what is haram police? It's basically you're having a pop at the brothers and sisters who are, according to them, they're enjoining good and forbidding evil. Right? So my message to the brothers and sisters and the mashayikh and the students of knowledge who are listening to this podcast or who will listen to this podcast, may Allah bless every single one of you lot who gave us nasiha sincerely on the topic of not watching UFC. Right? But I have a problem. I have one problem though, however. If you gave that nasiha, yet you watched the fight in secret, you paid for that fight in secret, right? and then you jumped on the Khabib bandwagon afterwards, or you've previously watched boxing, or you praised the Muhammad Ali of his, rahimahullah, of his peak, and you generally watch sports, and I would argue as far as to say that the vast majority of the sporting industry is haram,
Right.
whether it's promoting alcohol, whether it's using promiscuity and sexual nudity for marketing purposes, whether every single sport is involving gambling. So if you pick that UFC in particular, because all the Muslims were on the bandwagon hype, and you thought, okay, now I'm going to come and enjoy good food. Hey, okay, fine, but there has to be an issue of consistency.
Right, and here's some wisdom. I'm now when people are like, especially people who are new to the religion, they're getting acclimated to Khabib just because of his love for the religion. They're loving the religion through Khabib, right, because of his passion. Now, all of a sudden, what you do by you putting out these fatwas that, oh, you know, the UFC is wrong, and you're creating a problem within someone's heart where if you had done it at a different time, it would have been fine. But now, right now, the emotions are pretty high, and it just doesn't seem like the right time to do it. I'm just saying, like,
True.
why not pick your time and you know, advise people when they're ready to hear it.
Well, here's the thing.
But some of the brothers, some of the brothers would argue, some of the brothers and sisters and the mashayikh would argue that there is no better time than the time of hype and bandwagonism to come and give this advice. I've heard that from many brothers.
Right. So I will say this: if they want to use that for, and first of all, just to a follow up on this, when I generally don't use the haram police, but when I do, I'm talking specifically about the hypocrites, the ones that will do something and then they come out and they're in and criticize everybody else when they're full of their own. And it's not about, for them, it's not about a deen nasiha. For them, it's about when someone else is doing something better, let's try to bring him down. You know, like the whole crabs in a bucket scenario. You know, oh, he's getting out, pull him down real quick. He can't get out of the bucket. And that's what I'm talking about. But with regards to giving nasiha in a time or a high time like this where, you know, it's becoming popular, I'm not necessarily opposed to that. However, I'm opposed to the delivery of it. You know, meaning that I'm just tweeting out something and saying in general, saying, oh, all of you supporting Khabib, you know, in this are enjoining haram and shame on you, right? I would rather have a sheikh or a da'i come out, make a video or a clarification in a nice way and say, listen, this is why it's haram. We respect our brother. We you know, we support him. We do, you know, we make dua for him, but we advise him in the way that may not be the best way for him to move forward. You know, you know, for this reason and that reason. But we ask Allah to guide it, and you know, and it would have been better rather than just you know, tweet out in random, you know, and some other a bunch of, you know, I mean, just random posts on different social media platforms. I'm not cool with that. You know, I think things need context.
I have to make a confession here, brothers. Yeah, that I am a bit of a haram police as well.
All British people are.
No, seriously, no. I think if we classify or define haram police as, so for me, haram police is generally someone who enjoins good, forbids evil, gives nasiha, right? And many of our brothers and sisters won't like it. I used the term for the first time the other day after the fight, and I had to go on to clarify that what I meant by, in this context, are those brothers and sisters or mashayikh and people of knowledge who are advising against the UFC as a haram sport. Some were going even as far as saying that, look, you can't even support Khabib. You can't support Khabib. Yani, how can you support a brother in haram? Like, if it was any other profession, you wouldn't do it. Yeah? And so I said that, look, there is so much khair to take out of this situation, right? That the timing is not great, the language is not great, the tone is not great. And even many of our brothers and sisters were speaking about, oh, the reality is this, the reality is this. No, the reality is this, that the Muslim Ummah is suffering from a dire need of leadership and role models. For crying out loud, we have Muslims who were mourning the death of Mandela, Chavez, Castro. You know, this is how big the vacuum of leadership is in the Ummah. So you give on someone like Khabib, at a time of, you know, Insta MUAs and YouTubers, man will choose Khabib all day long, right?
Yeah. The world needs a hero.
if you ask the lay Muslim, why did you support Khabib? He's a Muslim. Conor McGregor insulted Islam, and he is proud of his deen. Now, those three things are beautiful traits that needs to be harnessed and channeled. So therefore, the timing of telling the youth, and I'm not talking about the youth who are already inclined towards Islam, by the way. I'm talking about those youth who are not inclined towards Islam, and they tuned in to watch the fight, jumped on the bandwagon and the hype, because they heard there was a brother called Khabib from a place called Dagestan, which sounds like Pakistan, and he fought this Irish guy, who insulted the deen, who insulted his people, and you know what, we're gonna back our brother. That sentiment can easily be harnessed. It can be harnessed and channeled, right? So therefore, my advice to the brothers and sisters who did give advice, I mean, Allah bless them for it, is that sometimes you have to understand the timing, the language, the tone, right? The context, the reality. You talk about reality, but the reality is this, that we live in at a time where the ummah will take practically anyone, sadly, as a leader.
Right.
Show a glimpse of izzah, and they will take him, right? And I would choose Khabib as someone to look up to and take goodness from the Insta MUAs and the YouTubers all day, every day, right? I just think that timing is very important, man. Timing, language, tone is very important.
When I use haram police, I talk about it in the sense when there's ikhtilaf, difference of opinion on certain matters, and there's people who are calling things haram when there's difference of opinion on that. That's the only time I use it.
That must be an American definition. In the UK, haram police literally means someone who enjoins good, forbids evil, and advises Muslims.
And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with what you're saying. That's amazing. That's that there's a quality in that type of a person that needs to be admired. That despite all the blowback or ostracization that person may experience from the community because of him continually advising people, that he still continues to do that. That all being said, I'm talking about the people who, for example, talked about pictures being haram, right? And now you don't hear about them at all now. Before it was like 50-50. Even our very own Sheikh Amr, he was very anti-pictures, and now he's taking selfies with me everywhere,
Come on, that's a bit.
He was.
No, I understand what he's trying to say, though. Like, I remember being back in Saudi Arabia, and we had my family also gotten a satellite over there, okay? And back in the days, and they first said satellites were haram. And then they ease it off to saying, well, if you get a satellite, you have to cement it in a direction away from Europe, right? And then finally, the next thing is...
Are you being serious?
Yeah, I'm serious. And then now the Mashayikh have KSA 1 and 2 where they're on live TV now and they're broadcasting out to the world. So I think that, yes, we do have a hadith, and it's not my job to be, a person who interprets the hadith and whatever. But I think that there is a time and place and application for a hadith and the rules and the sharia, right? And I'm not going to take a position on that, but what I'm going to say is this. Khabib himself, I don't believe he intended to use Islam or the UFC as dawah. It just so happened that his nature, he carries Islam with him so much that people think that he's trying to make dawah. And it's just that we were so proud to see somebody so confident in his religion and so humble about it. Like so effortlessly. No, brother, it's haram. Imagine if somebody said salamu alaikum and congratulations on your alcohol. A person here would probably be like, oh, well, I get it. Connor's not a Muslim, so he said it to him, and this is to me. But he's so simple in his religion. Like it's so ingrained in him that it was like an automatic response. It wasn't trying to even be an insult. It was just, hey, you can't do that. You know what I mean? Like, and I think people respected that innocence that Khabib has, right? And I think a lot of people that made this argument about it being haram, like at least from what I can see, were I hate to say this, but a lot of them were like those neo-feminist Muslims. Like they were on Twitter, they were tweeting at me saying, you know what? Hey, why would you defend this guy, but you don't want to defend the honor of Muslim sisters who are being slandered because they take off their hijab or something like that, right? And
stuff's different up in the States, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just radically different. We've just got this crazy thing going on. So for me, it's just like, look, it's a different comparison, dude. Do not use this scenario to, further push your feminist, Muslim feminism, whatever it may be, leave me out of it. I'm just praising the brother because, dude, he defended Islam. He told Connor to shut up. For me, you get my vote, bro. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I can't make it more simple than that.
But just to give the UK context, right? And this will be my last words on this, right? I don't know what the hell's going up in the States with, male feminists and liberals trying to act the haram police. But in the UK, look, and even brothers, good brothers from Australia, they were giving good advice, right? And I'm not, and as I mentioned earlier, I'm not going to knock them for it. And I genuinely, wallahi, I'm very thankful for them, because Prophet ﷺ said that deen is nasiha. And if they said it, and if they gave it to us sincerely, and I pray that Allah blesses them for it. And a lot of the brothers and sisters who were advising, these were people who generally don't watch sports, who certainly don't watch UFC and boxing. Some of the brothers who were advising don't have televisions at home. I'm being serious at it. Some of these guys don't even have televisions at home. So at least they're consistent, right? So respect to them. Personally, brothers, and this is my first ever confession on the Mad Mamluks ever. UFC and boxing is my weakness. Yeah. I see it as a weakness. I boxed when I was 15, 16, 17 for about 3.5 years on amateur level. And the kind of background, the kind of socioeconomic background that I come from, and the hood that I come from, it was something which, it wasn't a thing. It was normal.
Yeah.
It was normal to know how to protect yourself. You had to, right? Whether it's with your boys, whether it was you're on your own, but deep inside, when I reflect and I look at boxing and I look at UFC, I'm not even talking about the other sports, right? The international sports that push asabiya, nationalism, and everything else. UFC, kickboxing, MMA, these particular sports, it's a weakness for me. So I want the listeners, for those of you, especially from the UK, saying, Brother Dilly's on Mad Mamluks trying to make it halal and that. No, it's my weakness, Ikhwan. My brothers and sisters, it's a weakness for me.
I kind of get that, though. Because me and Sim grew up in a similar neighborhood, and it was all a bunch of like racist Italians, right? So there was not a day where you walked outside where you didn't get into a fight. I grew up fighting. I learned to fight myself because you have to, you know what I mean? Like my brother was, my older brother is hearing impaired, and people would make fun of him sometimes. And so I would have to be the one to come up. And he's not like he can't fight or whatever, but he's timid, he's shy. He wasn't like the fighting type. He's very academic. He's very smart, mashallah. But the thing is that, people who grow up in certain environments, you literally have to fight to just walk through the street, and it becomes natural to you. And you're talking about people like in Dagestan who literally went through like 2 decades of war. That's all they know. They know either just to live off the land and fight to survive. These people were pushed by the Russian Empire around. They were fighters for the Ottoman Empire to defend the area. This is what they know in their blood. Like they don't know anything else, right? And so I'm not justifying it, but what I'm saying is understand the difference in culture. And a lot of times what happens is when most ulama will tell you, when they're issuing a ruling, they try to take the context, meaning the condition of the people. Exactly. Ilm al-waqi'ah. They want to know what is going on with the people and what is their situation. And the situation of the Caucasus versus the situation in London is very different for a Muslim, right? Very, very different. And so I think, I think we pretty much said what we had to say on that. I don't want to, hang on the issue of halal and haram. None of us are. At least not me. I'm not qualified to do that.
Look, for me, just on the last point on that one, right? A lot of brothers who watch UFC and a lot of brothers who watch boxing, practicing brothers, they know deep inside it's a weakness, right? And may Allah allow us to find hobbies and interests and social activities which isn't so brutal and so bloody. And
you should get into rock and roll, man.
Huh?
Rock and roll.
Music's haram, brother.
Oh, what? I thought we changed our mind on that. Cat Stevens is back playing again. Stop it, Mort. Stop the fitna. Stop it now. Cat Stevens is back on the guitar. We got Dawood Warnsby. We got some great guitarists right now. And Dilly, you need to get into rock and roll.
What about Lupe
Fiasco? You look like a saxophone.
What about Lupe Fiasco?
Dilly, do you play?
And another one.
Dilly, do you play any instruments? Do you play any instruments?
No, I don't actually. Sometimes when I'm eating, it's a habit I used to have from back in the day. You know the tabla?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll even do it now. I'll be sitting on the table and I'll be doing. Yeah, that's the only instrument I played.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Actually, you know what? My little brother's going to be watching this and he's going to say, you know what? You're lying. I played the violin for a year.
Ah, there you go. But you know what? That you might have an excuse for that though, because I remember growing up in my school, they made you play an instrument. Like you
No,
had
but
to.
hold on. There was a reason for it. Yeah. Number one, we used to listen to this Chinese. I forgot. I think her name was Bjork. I think.
Yeah. Bjork?
Yeah.
She's not Chinese.
No, okay. I've got confused. There's a Chinese lady, Oriental lady that used to. Oh my God, I'm gonna get lynched for this. Chinese Oriental. There was an Oriental violin player. And she did the crazy music, and she was massive back in the late 90s, mid 90s, and basically they were taking in violin lessons, and you were allowed to take the violin home. When I used to take the violin home, I used to just play it like this. I used to actually play the violin.
Like a guitar?
Like a guitar.
Yeah, I mean, no, I mean, yeah, I mean, look, you know, we're gonna see a lot of different opinions about different things, but I think we kind of hit a lot of the different opinions about whether how people feel about it. I think at the end of the day,
what's that, Vanessa May, by the way?
Camp, yeah, I mean, I think if you're in the camp that it's not, that's fine. But if you are in the camp that it is, you're not allowed, and just recognize that it's a sin. Don't try to justify it and say it's okay. Don't try to halalify something that is not allowed.
And that's my position. And I pray that, you know, my listeners and those who follow my work and stuff like that, they don't feel that Brother Dilly's here trying to make, you know, this sport halal. Brothers and sisters, I know it's a weakness, and we all have weaknesses. And but I also think, you know, watching fights is also not black and white. You know, taking part is one thing. Watching fights is different. So I was speaking to a very well-known Hanafi scholar in the UK, very well-known. I can't mention his name. He said, look, you know, the whole issue of watching fights is something entirely different. You know, are you going there physically to watch? Are you purchasing tickets? Are you streaming it online for free? Are you watching highlights? If you're spending money on it, then essentially you're pumping that industry. And he broke it down. He goes, it's not that clear cut. But in the UK, last comment, I promised the last comment on this whole halal haram issue. In the UK, at least, and the mashayikh and the students of knowledge within this neck of the woods, Europe included, I think it was by consensus nearly, like, you know, that look, there's no discussion point here whether UFC is haram or halal. We know.
Yes, the UFC itself. Yes, everyone, even in America, yes, UFC is wrong. But is MMA just sparring, competition, learning how to fight?
No, this is different. Akhi, this is different though. Training is completely different.
That's what I'm talking about.
The training is different. So you know, training, even partaking in kind of very low level competitions, not for money. You know, striking the face for training in preparation or to get better at a particular sport or to enhance your own kind of ability. That's completely different.
Yes, that's why I'm confused. I thought you were like against that as well.
No. So again, just another clarification. Brothers and sisters, if you want to go and take boxing classes, kickboxing, all of that, from my understanding from the mashayikh that I have consulted and the position I've adopted, taking part on that on a training level is absolutely halal. I mean, I'm yet to hear an opinion to suggest that you can't really.
Okay, so that's exactly what I was, pushing for. I'm like, I thought because there were people over here who were saying that even that's forbidden, and that's what was upsetting me. That in my opinion, UFC is haram, and the NFL is haram in terms of the whole package that it comes with. In terms of alcohol and the objectification of women and all that nonsense, right? As a package, yes, but playing the sport, football, is fine.
Yeah, absolutely. So look, I mean, just give an example. When I had my first amateur fight when I was 16, right? We had headgear on and everything, right? I made sure my aura was covered. Obviously, I followed the Hanafi opinion, so my knees and my navel were covered and stuff, right? But the audience members who came and watched the fight, they were drinking khamr, they were drinking pints of beers. I know that bets were taking place when I had my first amateur fight, right? I had 3 amateur fights and then I gave up after that. Right. I gave up not because I wasn't practicing at the time, so I gave up for other reasons. I just couldn't keep up with the training regime, to be honest, and I kind of gave up. But I can't see how you can ever Islamically justify that environment alone.
Right. There's free mixing and all that stuff.
Yeah. So we're not out here, brothers and sisters. We're not out here trying to make halal haram, haram halal. But there has to be a distinction between making a career and money and out of particular sports right? Or all sports, it could be argued. And then obviously doing contact sports and strike sports as on a training level, especially for our brothers and sisters who are living in parts of the world where Islamophobia is rife. Right?
So this part itself needs to be clarified by some of the scholars, because people are interpreting UFC as, you know, sparring, training. The whole idea of competitive martial arts is haram, and that is probably something that's scary to me, because I don't want to see young Muslims grow up like a bunch of pansies. You know, they need training. They need to know how to fight. They get bullied at school. They should learn how to fight. You know,
actually, it is the sunnah to know how to wrestle. I mean, to know how to. I mean, you should know that. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's from the sunnah to do that.
But it's not just wrestling. But when you take Mort, you know, you've been in a lot of fights. Me and him, Mort, grew up together. When you take a punch to the face, you have to know how to handle that, or else it's game over. Because it's not just going to be your face at that. Then you'll be on the ground. You'll be trying to cover your face. You'll be trying to cover your body. It'll be game over.
I know what Sim is saying. Like the first time you get hit in the face, it's like you don't know what's happening, right? Like your whole world just changes. You're like, wow, I've never felt that kind of shock before, right? And I get that, right? But and I know I feel for the young people that may have to fight. You know what I mean? That happens, and they should know how to defend themselves. Absolutely. And I think that given today's climate and you know what's happening, you know, I agree with Sim on this. That yes. We should encourage them to.
Dude, we're raising a generation of wimps. I don't know about you over there in Bedford, man, but over here we have the most violence-averse people in the history of Islam. There's no way.
Let me put
it. There's a context to that. You have to remember that our brothers and sisters in the UK. Remember, the unlike the rest of Europe, it's only the United Kingdom that has a majority Muslim minority that come from the Indian subcontinent. There's a colonial history with Britain here.
Yeah. And it's still there's there. Animosity that happened.
Yeah, whereas you guys over there, I don't know, man. I mean, you guys are all nice and all nice.
We look at like, hey, we kick out the British. Yeah, like, we look at, the red coats we kicked out. We're like, yeah, that's what we did. You know what I mean?
No, here's the thing, okay, Dilly, it's as simple as this. When me and Mort were growing up together over here in the suburbs of Chicago, the white people were not used to brown people, and we got picked on a lot, and we got into a lot of fights. Now, brown people are everywhere.
Yeah, now they can't say nothing.
We have.
Let me give you an
Dilly,
example.
just to have an idea of how many Muslims are over here, we have mega mosques. You know, the mega mosque. What I mean by that term, like 5,000 to 10,000 people that they can carry. We have 5 of them within a 5 to 7 mile radius. That's how many like mega mosques that we have.
Look, I'll take it a step further to you, brothers. Yeah, I'll take it a step further. I still don't understand. That at a time of making America great again and Trump and all of that stuff, I still don't understand why more Muslims haven't bared arms. If you guys can legally purchase arms to defend yourselves, at least have it, man.
Oh, it's coming. It's coming, man.
Wait,
as this economy collapses, you better be armed, because Trump can build his wall, but he can't stop 10 million people who are crossing the border trying to come to salvation, because I mean, you've read about the reports regarding climate change and the economy downturn. There's no way a wall is going to protect 10 million Mexicans coming into America for the Great Lakes.
So let me just comment one other thing too. And I'll be honest, I think I can't speak for other Muslims, but I grew up in Chicago, right? And like I have a firearms card and everything, but the thing is, here's the thing. I've never felt like I was like in danger in Chicago. Like I never felt like, oh my God. I mean, fights here and there growing up.
But you're not a sister though.
Huh?
The sisters did though. I know sisters that have.
I mean, maybe they did, but what I'm saying is, for me,
by the way, you look Puerto Rican, so you're fine.
Yeah, I know, but most people that buy guns, right? They're ones, they're gonna be men because they're usually involved in that kind of stuff. I mean, I don't know too many sisters that are packing, right? I just don't know them, but I mean, most of the people that are buying guns are gonna be men. And to be honest, in the Muslim community, at least in Chicago, I don't know about other areas, but like in Chicago, first of all, we had a gun ban for a long time. You couldn't conceal carry, right? You had to. Now they recently changed it. But places like if you go to Detroit and like Youngstown, Michigan, Ohio, everybody's packing. I mean, everybody has one. It's just a matter of culture.
The point more I was making was that, everyone seems to be packing in America, and everyone but the Muslims seem to be packing.
Oh
And
yeah, because they don't want to get profiled.
unless I'm wrong here, unless you guys are telling me
you're right. You're right. There's a certain
legally.
fear. No, there's a certain fear with that because, like, if you do own a weapon, they think, you know what, now you're going to be on a watch list.
You're being watched anyway.
Yeah, but what I know that, but what I'm trying to say is they're going to say, well, being watch list, but then that's one more reason why they can stop you at the airport or when you're coming back in the country.
That
like,
was maybe 5 years ago. I would understand that kind of fear, but right now, you know, we the Muslim crazies in our family, they've been kind of behaving, right?
Well, tell that
we haven't had a major incident since the Pulse nightclub.
Well, listen, tell people that who have a triple S or quadruple S on their ticket when they travel, they're gonna be like, hey, I don't want to apply for a gun license right now.
Right. For them,
just one more reason.
Yeah. Those people, yeah, it wouldn't be smart for them.
I think, sorry, forgive me. I threw the whole spanner in the works with guns. Sorry about that. I just always wondered that, you know, because in the UK we're fed loads of documentaries and always hearing about these shootings that are happening in the States.
Nah, it's all garbage, dude. I know a lot of people in the UK are like, oh, you Americans are savages. People are dying everywhere in Chicago. No, if you go to certain areas of the place,
are your police nice then? Are your police nice?
No, I mean, look, I'll be honest. For me, I only had a scuffle with one police officer in my life. That was it.
The only police is mean is the one that's in the ghetto. They're
the one. And look, and I'm not gonna take I don't want to sound insensitive here, but I'll be honest. If I was a police officer walking the south side of Chicago, you better believe I'm gonna be mean as hell. Because there's people out there with like sniper rifles, gang members with sniper rifles on top of rooftops, shooting off, picking off police officers. I'm not saying that they have a right for. I'm not justifying police brutality, but what I'm saying is it's a highly tense situation. I mean, me walking in downtown in the south side of Chicago, I'm ready to throw down with somebody any given moment because you don't know who's doing what. Like you don't know. But if you walk out, like for example, if I go out.
But by the way, for the brothers in UK, Chicago is so bad they call it Chirac.
Yeah, they know that. No, listen, they know. They listen to drill music out in the UK. They know what's up. They know more about Chicago than we do, probably. I'm telling you.
I don't know. I thought they didn't listen to music.
The demographics, yeah, they know about it. No, but listen, here's the thing. If you go out maybe about 20 minutes outside the city, and police officers will come help you change a tire. They will. I mean, yeah, look, I'll tell you something, though. In one way, in the UK versus the US is different. Police in the US, they try to catch you on purpose. Like, oh, we got them. You know what I mean? Like, they're looking for you to mess up, right? If you don't mess up, if you call them to help, for help, most of them, in my knowledge, have been very good. But if they're driving in the squad car and they see you driving recklessly, they're waiting for that moment to just entrap you and catch you.
It's the same in the UK, Akhi. It's the same.
Yeah, so, I mean,
so when we don't have guns yet. That's what it is.
Yeah. So the thing is, like, and so, but for the most part, if I've ever, and here's the funny part, when people who do criticize the police a lot of times, the first people they call are usually the police, right? You know what I mean? Like, and I get that it's their job, I get that, but if you truly didn't feel that the police could help you, you wouldn't call them, right? I mean, if you truly didn't feel that way, it's some part of you feels that, that guy's gonna help me out eventually, or something's gonna happen, right? I mean,
Murtaza's gonna get lynched after this podcast. You know that.
It's your game over. It's over for you. Submit your resignation.
But the only thing is this, though. Like in America, the police are not here to protect you. They're here to serve the government interest. That's just what it is. Yeah, the serve and protect is just a motto. It doesn't really apply. It's not a legal. It's not a legal obligation for police to serve and protect you, right? Yeah. The job is they're a private entity that keeps order in the country or in the town.
I think that obviously forgive me, Juan, for digressing and throwing that whole kind of gun thing. But I think the point I was trying to basically make is, brothers and sisters, especially living in the West, especially those of you who are living in towns and cities and villages and areas where there is high levels of Islamophobia. Like there's even Islamophobia in predominantly Muslim areas, yeah, because sisters are targets everywhere. Learn MMA, learn some kind of contact sports, learn how to defend yourselves, because there may come a time, Allah forbid that it ever comes to any of our sisters or our mothers, that a time may come where a pepper spray and those kind of rape alerts, you'll need more than that.
Rape whistles?
Yeah, whistles and all that stuff. You'll need to know how to kick ass, you know what I mean? So I would definitely I would encourage brothers and sisters to get involved in some kind of contact sports or some kind of self-defense, and just keeping yourself generally at my health and fit. Just staying healthy and fit. And wherever you even go, just do it, man. If there's ever a time that you need to get it done, do it now. There's a brother that I was speaking to, a very close friend of mine who does jiu-jitsu. He said after the Khabib fight, so I want to give a shout out to 2 MMA groups out in East London, 313 and the UMA brothers. Mashallah, they're doing fantastic work up in East London, in Leighton. These brothers, they had a massive influx of youngsters joining up straight after the Khabib fight, and they do MMA and jiu-jitsu. And I know there's a lot of Muslim sisters as well in parts of London who are doing stuff like MMA and kickboxing and stuff like that. Sisters need to learn it. Brothers need to learn it. We need to learn it. Us three need to learn it. I mean, we need to teach our children to be, to be strong and know how to defend themselves.
And learn MMA. Don't learn Chinese choreography or Oriental choreography, because that's what some of these places do. Man, one of my friend's kid, I don't want to mention his name, but he's a black belt in karate, and he got his butt whooped by a couple small kids. And I'm like, you know what?
Oh, wait, it's a good foundation. Look, your GSP is a foundation in karate.
Listen, but
you gotta just.
I'm just saying a lot of these schools, they're more interested in giving somebody a black belt than
right. It's more about like mental discipline, not actual learning how to. It's more about belonging to a team, and it's not really actually about defending yourself. I agree. I know what you're talking about. It's more for show. But listen, aside from that though, so look, Dilly, I know you probably heard about a lot of stuff, among the Khabib hyper and like, the hype and all that stuff. What do you make of the whole allegation and I guess drama about him, Vladimir Putin, and the president of that Dagestan region, what's his name, Ramzan
Kadyrov,
Chechnya. I'm sorry, yeah. So what do you make of that whole thing? Because I know some people are like, no big deal. Some are like, this is huge. I mean, it's just, I hear all sorts of things on it.
Okay, I think a few things we need to obviously first set in stone and clarify first, yeah? Vladimir Putin is no hero or savior of the Ummah. This guy is a butcher. He's a butcher like all his predecessors. And the Russians have essentially been fighting Muslims for the last 300 to 400 years non-stop. And Vladimir Putin his bombs, his soldiers, his planes are killing our brothers and sisters in Syria as we speak, in their tens of thousands. May Allah accept them as shaheed, inshallah. I mean, now, with regards to, Khabib taking photos with Ramzan Kadyrov, right? And by the way, Ramzan Kadyrov is known to be a PR whore. This guy will take photos with anyone. He's done it with Tyson, he's done it with Muhammad Salah for Liverpool. The Egyptian striker was not happy about it, right? This guy is known. I mean, how can you take a president serious who wears, not only does he wear tracksuits, all his men wear tracksuits. He's like, right, like never in a suit, always on Instagram and always on Twitter. And you think, does this guy actually do any work? But you have to take that as it is. Yeah. So it is not unheard of tyrants and dictators capitalizing on superstars to advance their own political credence. This is not unheard of. We know this. Yeah. It happened with Muhammad Salah. Sisi tried doing it with another famous Egyptian footballer. Saddam did a similar thing during his time. It's not unheard of, right?
It's been happening since the Romans. Remember Gladiator?
It happens, right? It happens. But again, at the same time, you have to also appreciate that whilst we're sitting in the comfort of our sofas and our families and our loved ones in the West, up in Dagestan and the Caucasus in Russia,
whole other world.
It's a different world out there. You cannot say what you want. You cannot rant on Facebook about your political and religious views. You cannot enjoin a good and forbid evil that easily. That's not to say that there aren't brave brothers and sisters who have done it, are still doing it, and may Allah bless them and increase them and raise their status. I mean, they're in their dungeons. So many have been martyred, but literally up in Dagestan and Chechnya and them places there, even the Russians, the ethnic Cossack Russians, they'll tell you, we can get kidnapped. Our family will be poisoned. The Russians were whacking at people in Britain just a month ago. They're poisoning people out here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So given that in mind, given that reality, we hear so many brothers talking about reality. No, the reality is that Brother Khabib comes from Dagestan, the area of the Caucasus which has had two long wars with Russia, right? Ruling over Dagestan and Chechnya are two Russian agents and puppets, right? And you cannot just start enjoining good and forbidding evil and saying a word of truth to a tyrant ruler as easy as that. Because it's a real life scenario where your family can get kidnapped, you will get killed, you will get imprisoned. However, that's not to say the following. Brother Khabib has not displayed any words of support for their policies and politics. The opposing argument would say no, but merely taking photos and videos and giving them hugs and accepting their gifts. So Ramazan Kadyrov gave him a brand new Rolls Royce. Yeah? Gave him a brand new Rolls Royce. So one would argue that by you accepting the gift of the tyrant, you have now basically glorified him and you kind of made him okay. So my position is this. Our brother Khabib, he is not an Islamic activist. He is not a principled scholar. I don't know how politically astute he is. I don't know whether his family or his tribe were people who either opposed the Russians or were on the side of the Russians during the two Chechen wars and the Dagestan war. I don't know these things. We don't know these things. We don't know if inside he is under duress and out of fear and out of just generic respect, he went and met Vladimir Putin. Ideally, we wouldn't want him to do that. Of course not.
Yeah.
This guy's a butcher of Muslims. Of course we wouldn't want him to do that. But it still stands that whether he likes it or not, and whether he meant it or not, accepting that Rolls Royce from Ramazan Kadyrov, you know, referring to the Russian fatherland on Instagram after his meeting with Putin, it does, whether he likes it or not, legitimize Putin. But then again, the tyrants, they don't meet you and take photos with you for you to praise them in private. The whole point is that you go off and give them a shout out on Instagram or Twitter or whatever, which gives them legitimacy and credence, right? Now, in an ideal world, we would have loved our brother Khabib, or any Muslim for that matter, but someone who is as famous and well known as Khabib, to either reject that invite or to account him, both Putin and Kadyrov. But the real life scenario is that had he done that, he'd be in prison.
Yeah, wait, Dilly, it doesn't affect you. It affects your family. These guys, they don't just go after you.
No,
it affects your family, your friends. You become a source so that they want to set an example so that nobody ever thinks about this. Some people might not care about their lives or whether it goes to hell, but they definitely do care about their kids and their wives and parents and other people that they can make life miserable.
I want to add just 2 points before Murti comes in, right? Number one, we do not know for sure unequivocally that Brother Khabib is a supporter of Putin and Kadyrov, their policies and politics. We don't know. We cannot say he isn't. We cannot say he is.
Yeah.
Secondly, whilst we would love him to account a tyrant ruler and be that extra principled, right, and reject an invite, would we apply the following? When all these British Muslim sports figures go and take pictures with the Queen and the Prime Minister, do we say the same? Do we say, yeah, they supported the murder of Muslims in Iraq and Afghanistan? When all those Muslims who went and met Obama, Bush, and maybe not so much with Trump, but I'm sure they do, we don't turn around and say, well, hold on, this Muslim that's gone and hugged and taken photos and taken videos with the president, yeah, this Muslim, Abu Fulan, he supports all the murder and the oppression. We don't make those insinuations. We don't.
Right.
And we will go to that extra length to defend those brothers and sisters who happen to be sports figures or celebrities in the West when they take photos with Western leaders who have got equally as much as blood as Putin. But we would never say that. We would never say, oh, because you took a photo with the Queen, you know, and we have Muslim celebs here, by the way, who do take photo with the Queen, who do take photo with David Cameron and Theresa May. We don't turn around and say, oh, by the way, because you took a photo and you go and see her every other month, you support the oppression of Muslims. We just wouldn't do that. Second point, Muhammad Ali, rahimahullah, he was known to go and visit Gaddafi. He was known to go and visit Gamal Abdel Nasser. He was known to go and meet Saddam Hussein. He even praised them as revolutionary leaders. Yeah? But would we dare to turn around and say that Muhammad Ali, he supported their oppression against the Muslims?
Never.
Or supported or supported their policies against their own people. We would never say that. And there is more evidence to suggest that Ali knew about their politics than Khabib. And Ali was never living in those lands, so he never really had to fear anything. I'm just asking for consistency, brothers and sisters. That's all I'm asking for, consistency. We talk about reality, put yourself in Khabib's position. If he happens to be someone who comes from a lineage and tribe, and by the way, it's been proven that he has. His great-grandfather was one of the right-hand men of Imam Shamil, rahimahullah, right? So I'm assuming now he does come from an anti-Russian tribe or family. But there's real-life repercussions for the kind of ideals that you're hoping for. And we have many brave people like that. Maybe our brother Khabib isn't up to that caliber. We just don't know. That's why.
Look, I think you have to understand. I mean, it's different because they have a Muslim, by name at least, a leader in Chechnya. And so it becomes like, before it was very apparent, right? Muslims being slaughtered by non-Muslims taking over. But now everything is calmed down and Putin put in a Muslim faith into Chechnya, right? So it's kind of like they're kind of repairing, they're running PR, right? So for some people in the caucus, I can understand why it might not be like a direct conflict for them right now. Like it can cause some confusion. But the thing is, even Ramzan, the guy, I mean, the man has, I'm not that I support homosexuality, but I mean, just an example of how ruthless they can be. He basically killed all the homosexuals, and then when someone asked him about gays in Chechnya or whatever, he's like, "No, we don't have any. They don't exist." I mean, he made them disappear overnight. You know, and like that kind of mentality is normal. While they're very practicing, they're very cold and tough people, and they lack.
Ramzan Kadyrov is known. He has a track record, right, of just making people disappear.
No, of course. I mean, he has a squad like Bashar al-Assad, the Shabiha. He has his own Shabiha.
Yeah, absolutely. He has kind of
he won't do it himself because he doesn't want his blood to be, I mean, his hand on his hands to be full of blood. But he has a loyal group of gang members that will go out and terrorize you and pure thuggery, essentially, right?
And by the way, remember this as well. Ramzan Kadyrov, he's from the next republic. So he's from Chechnya. We're yet to even see Khabib take a video or a photo with Vladimir Vasilyev, who's the actual president of Dagestan. We've not even seen this guy yet. Ramzan Kadyrov is known to literally follow around superstars. He did it with Tyson, he did it with Salah, and naturally he's going to do it with Khabib, right? Brothers and sisters, it's not unheard of. It's absolutely normal, unfortunately, for tyrants and dictators to capitalize on the fame and the love of people like Muhammad Salah, of Khabib Nurmogomedov, and other Muslim celebrities who are principled, who appear to be outwardly and unapologetically Muslim, to advance their own political objectives. It's not unheard of.
Trump just did it with Kanye.
And just so you know, I mean, the Ramzan, he actually filled the role of his father, who was killed by Mujahideen that rebelled against him, right?
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
There's a context we have to understand. And the other thing I wanted to point was, Allahu Alam, what Habib is telling Putin in private. Maybe he's trying to change his position or a different perspective. You never know. He may have given it, because for me,
it's unlikely. It's unlikely that.
Hold on. It seems more of his character, right? To correct sometimes someone, but I'm saying maybe he might have said something to him in private as well too, like trying to shed some weight or some opinion on something. I'm not saying it justifies it, but what I'm saying is maybe he's doing what he can and knows how to do within that situation.
I think that's a bit naive right now. I don't think he would try to cross those type of bounds, but maybe further down the line he could be versed in politics.
Maybe he's working. We don't know. I mean, you don't know his intention, right? At the end of the day, it could be any number of possibilities. I'm saying that the bottom line is none of us know his intention or how he feels about these people. You don't. I mean, when you live in a dictatorship where people tell you what to do and what to say and what you can wear and how you can dress, those kinds of things, you don't have a really say in what you can do publicly, right? So I'm just saying we really don't know his intention.
Look, I think we're all in agreement that in an ideal situation, ideal being the operative word here, and the more Islamic thing to do, perhaps it can be argued, is for him to either reject the invitation and then to give nasiha or for him to even come all gun holes and be like, yo, you can't be killing our brothers and sisters here. We'd love that. But the reality is not that. Yeah, there has to be context to it. Allahu Alam, we don't know if he's under duress. We don't know if there is a genuine threat and risk for the safety of his family and loved ones. At the same time, I may upset a few Khabib supporters here, brothers and sisters, right? You know, maybe extra posts is not required. Extra Instagram and tweets to big up Kadyrov and, you know, or Putin. You know,
I agree.
You know, Khayd, they've invited you. You've gone there. You've taken videos. You've taken snaps. A tyrant's given you a brand new Rolls Royce as a gift. That's on your conscience. In an ideal world, we would not want him to do that because we know these.
Let's put it this way: if he's doing it voluntarily, it's wrong. You shouldn't be doing it, right? And I don't care if you won the UFC or you saying Alhamdulillah a bunch of times. If you're doing it voluntarily and you know that you have no problem with it and your conscience is clear doing that, there's a problem with you. I don't care how many times you say Alhamdulillah.
I'm glad you pointed that.
How many times you say MashaAllah or how many times you pray or what your generation ancestry is. There's a line, right? I mean, if you don't have a conscience about that, if you're not under duress or you're not under, you know, I think we can agree with that. If he's doing it for his own benefit and for actual real mahabba, like he actually says, oh, I love this, he's a great leader, then there's a problem with him in his aqidah and whatever it may be. And and like I said before, right, we don't put people on pedestals. If he's wrong, he's wrong. He's wrong, right? Because he doesn't change, he doesn't make or break Islam. It doesn't depend on him. He's another figure that will come and go, right? Who knows, tomorrow he may injure his knee, Allah forbid, but he may be completely out of the sport tomorrow and be absolutely nothing in 2 years, right? You don't know. Islam does not depend on him.
Well, Rico, I think that's
right and wrong. I don't think we should make any. If I think I know what you're trying to say. If he's doing it for those reasons, then absolutely it's wrong, and we shouldn't even debate that. Yeah.
Spot on. You've articulated that better than me, brother. Spot on. If he's doing it, he's doing it of his free will, with support and muhabba and love and support in his mind, he has to be called out. He will be called out, and that is unequivocally not right and haram. But if there is those other reasons and context and reality, we have to appreciate and understand that. As it stands, we cannot unequivocally say that he is a supporter. That would be wrong. It would be wrong to say that he is a supporter of their politics and policies. It's just, you can't say that now.
Yeah, so we got a comment in the text that goes, geez, guys, he's a world champion fighter, not a global politics expert. What do y'all expect from him? Deal with people according to the level. While I agree with that.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. That's exactly, I think that's what we're trying to say.
That's what we're saying.
That's what we're saying.
I said that earlier. I said he's not an Islamic activist. He's not like a super scholar. He's you know, so those kind of acts are usually attributed to those kind of figures within the community. I said that earlier. I said that, look, you know.
Yeah, so this goes back to what we were saying earlier. I don't think he's saying these words or like these statements like Alhamdulillah or you can't do that because he's trying to be a da'wah, a da'wah man or like that. You know, this is just all he knows. You know what I mean? This is all he really knows. You know what I mean? Like he's simple and humble. Like he comes from that region. He doesn't know a different culture. For him, that's offensive, right? I mean, it's like, you know, if you like, you know, if you were to come, let's say some fresh guy from like Pakistan or India or Bangladesh, whatever it is, and he comes to a restaurant and someone puts him like a bottle of wine on his table, he's gonna be like, no, I don't drink wine, it's haram for us, right? I mean, the guy may not have serving him may not know what the hell he's talking about, but that's his response, you know, because that's all he's grown up around. He's not from America, he's not from the Western world, he lives in Dagestan, bro. Like they don't see much outside, you know what I mean? Like they're different. So I think people are confusing that humbleness, that simpleness, with the fact that he's like a da'i or like he's trying to represent Islam. I don't think that was his intention. It just shined that way. It came out that way for us because I think for people in the West, people have become so timid about their religion and very like complacent that when you see someone like that, you think he's speaking up for you. Because you've become so complacent in your religion and so stagnant in your ability to be proud and proclaim your Islam that somebody who is doing that out of his own natural ability, you think that he's somehow trying to represent you and he should represent everything that you believe, right? And it's not always that way. It's not clear and cut.
All right. So as we're coming to a close, how long do you think this Khabib obsession will last? You think one more fight, or maybe is he a loss away from losing stardom? Is he one, because his personality isn't all that, right? we know that he's not a Conor McGregor. He doesn't pull the crowd like any of those guys do. But
Bellator will take him.
I don't think so. When you say his personality is not all that, that would be correct in the context of predominantly non-Muslim Western audiences.
Right.
So his personality isn't all that for that kind of audience. But I think for his Muslim supporters, it's like
perfect.
Like, not just triple, but it's increased by millionfolds.
Right.
Well, not only that. I mean, there are other people who are non-Muslims who are fighters who also said, "Yeah, this man is stand up. Like he's by his principle." DC supporting him.
Chuck Liddell, DC, Morocco.
They're like, hey, man, the man is loyal. He sticks with his team, and he's all about his team, and they respect that. But I think what Sim is saying is in terms of marketability, he won't be able to be marketable if you.
I don't think he will be marketable, but I think that he's got enough memes going around. Smash him, send me location, #1 idiot. He's got so many of them. I think that might be his marketing ploys, you know that. I think there's loads of t-shirts and adverts with him saying smash him, send me.
I'll be honest here. Even if he decides not to fight in the UFC ever again, his school alone will bring in people who want to train. Because the guy that came in and whomped on Conor McGregor and walked away from the UFC. I mean, it's kind of like the Royce Gracie kind of thing where he came to the UFC, challenged any big man, submitted the dude, walked out, and everyone wanted to challenge him, right? So, I mean, his school will have a name. You know what I mean? And he can definitely make money from that.
Khabib Mania, in the realm of social media, I think there's a week to 10 days left.
It'll die because most of these people who are tweeting about him and they know nothing about him.
They know nothing about exactly.
They don't know his record. They don't even know who he's fighting. They had no idea of who this guy was before the fight even happened.
In fact, they probably knew Conor McGregor more, if anything.
Yeah. Some of them were probably going for him until they heard that, you know, Khabib was a Muslim and that he insulted Islam.
No, listen. For me, this is an opportunity for a lot of people like us who've been in the MMA world since we were kids, to, you know, educate people and try to bring people into it and help them learn, so that, you know, just my own theory is that, you know, this is kind of a healthy, even though, you know, put aside the haram aspects of UFC, but this is very healthy in terms of bringing brotherhood back into Islam, and he stirs the correct emotions within Muslims. So I think it's a huge opportunity, and I think we just need to cultivate it and help people understand. I know, like, there's a lot of new people joining, and you know, we can't make fun of them. You know, we can't say like, oh, what you said is dumb. We gotta help them out. You know, and tell them about the various types of martial arts that are involved in MMA, and, you know, teach them about the rich history of the Gracies and how the UFC started in the mid '90s, and then you know, from like backwater.
Well, from UFC 1, where there were no rules.
Oh my God, you remember that? Like, the Samoan guy.
Only 2 rules: no biting, no eye gouging. That was it.
Dilly, I remember when it first started, we were just kids talking in the hallway. Did you? I don't think I was more than 10 years old, and I was telling.
You were like 10, 11.
Yeah, 10, 11 maybe, and we were talking like kids in the hallway, and we're like, "Hey, did you hear about this UFC thing? There's no rules. Yeah, well, how do we get a tape of it?" And everyone's just trying to get a tape of it and see it. And then years pass, a lot of business decisions get made. Finally, you start seeing it come to the main stage with guys like who is it? Like Chuck Liddell, right? Chuck Liddell,
Shamrock.
They really put UFC on its back, and
definitely.
I'm sorry. I was remembering when they didn't know how to pick a referee. Like McAfee was his only requirement was, hey, are you afraid of blood? And can you handle the gore? Right? And it's like, yeah, I can do that. And it had no rules, pretty much.
That's it. Just 2 rules: no eye gouging, no biting. That was it.
Yeah.
No weight divisions, nothing. You'd literally find a trim guy who's about 70 kg fighting a guy who's like 200 kg. It's like, what?
They even brought like totally KKK, like Nazi Aryan. I don't know if you saw that in the beginning. Like the guy had like
mad. It was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy stuff. And I don't know if you know this, but the Octagon essentially was like, it was a culmination of a bunch of ideas. They had so many crazy ideas. They wanted like people with like porches with like barbed wire, and like, you know, it was crazy.
You know, there's some people I know in the chat who are very business minded, and for you guys in the business world, this is your time. T-shirts related to
Yeah,
this.
someone make
Sell
a
it.
t-shirt and, like,
Holy
help me.
cow, man!
I'll
This is
design it.
prime
Just
time.
sell it for me, dude.
This
I don't have time to do that, but I'll
no
design
man. You know
I
how
got my
much.
first Khabib T-shirt the other day.
Oh, yeah?
I
Yeah.
have one. I have a Reebok one that I got when I was in Hungary. I got one. It was great.
Yeah, I like the one.
I was gonna wear it for today's podcast, but I didn't want to come across too much as a fanboy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I like the silhouette of him jumping over the ring. So they put like a silhouette of him just jumping over the ring and it says Air Khabib or something like that. Yeah.
Air Khabib, yeah. That one going around, yeah.
Great. Yeah.
But you know, on a concluding note, brothers and sisters who are listening, yeah, there's a lot of good to take from Khabib. I think that's undeniable, right? His resilience, his patience, his adab, his elite fighting skills, his humility, the restraint that he showed when things that were very dear to not just him but to us as well, when those things were being attacked and insulted, he held it down until the time really mattered. When that time came, he represented inside the ring and outside the ring. So I would say to the brothers and sisters, come on. We have, he showed the izzah. He showed, a level of bravery and I nearly said something. I probably was a bit
But what was it? But did we say that whether he did was wrong by jumping off the ring, or did we come to a consensus that,
Well, he apologized for it, and his dad wasn't happy with it. So we're gonna.
I think it's wrong. I think it's wrong, but we understand why he did it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Understand why he did it.
To be honest, he acted pretty calmly to what was said to him, right?
Yeah.
So even though, look, for me, I would have said, listen, hold that anger, take the microphone in the middle of the octagon, praise Allah 100 times, call that man out, Dylan,
man.
and say, come out and fight me. You know what I mean? And then keep saying alhamdulillah to taunt them. Because he's saying, I say alhamdulillah, you don't like this word.
You don't like it.
You know what I mean? So I would have just taunted them. They
that was
hate
great.
Because the time a Muslim gets to the center stage where he can say what he wants to say and keep saying that one word that bothers them. It's enough.
Absolutely. And him jumping out of the ring, look, we'll never know until we're in that situation, right? And we can fully understand why he did it, right? But we just have to accept his own position and that of his father's. And they both said that it wasn't right. However, I do not believe his boys were in the wrong. They were not in the wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. Because when Abu Bakr got punched by Conor, it is what it is. You started it off.
He punched their guy. McGregor punched their guy first, and on the principle of protecting your friends who would have been in danger, the rest rushed in. That's that's legit. So we have to make those two distinctions between him jumping out of the ring and his boys rushing McGregor. I found the latter to be justified. Yeah, because McGregor threw the first punch, and we don't know who would have rushed who in the ring. So they just did the natural thing. As for Khabib, he's apologized. His father apologized. We just have to accept it as that.
The guy,
anyone out there that's saying, "Oh, he was in the wrong," and taking some kind of moral high ground. Well, brothers and sisters, if you're ever in that position, we'll realize how it is when you're family.
Did you hear Chael Sonnen? He was trying to say, "I don't care what anyone did. I'm looking at it, and Conor felt threatened, and so I would have punched. He's within my personal space, so I would have punched him, not knowing what's going on." Look, I get all that, right? But the reality is he made a judgment call, dude, and he decided to punch somebody because Abu Bakr wasn't even looking at him in the face. He was looking the other way. If you look at the video, he's looking to the left, down toward what was going on with Khabib, right?
Yeah.
So, it all happened fast. Who knows what it is? But all we know is this.
The guy in the red shirt, he wasn't part of the team, though, right?
Who, Abu Bakr?
The guy in the red shirt. Who was the person who was part of the audience who jumped in?
That was Zubair.
Oh, okay, so that was
Abu Bakr was on the fence. He punched Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr punched him back. He came off the fence. Zubair jumped up off the. There was another guy in the black. I forgot who it was. Another guy.
He was a bit bigger. I forgot his name.
But Zubair was in the red shirt, jumped up like Spider-Man over the octagon, and then he just laid two on him from the side. And so that was Zubair who's being suspended. He was supposed to fight Artem.
And that's been cancelled.
Guys, it's been fun. Dilly, we got to do this again. We got to make you a regular. You got to I know our fans love you. They're like, who the hell? A lot of us in the U.S. and rightfully don't know you, but I knew you from back in the day. I just knew Five Pillars and all the amazing work you guys did, and always been a huge fan of the amazing work that you guys did over there. and I was like, man, it would be great if there was a 5 pillars for America, and this is why we started partnering with Muslim Matters and them to form this brotherhood, so that we have some kind of media outlet for practicing Muslims who isn't lame either. We sometimes kind of get a little bit self-righteous sometimes. Us practicing Muslims, there's some fair criticism towards us, but just like how you said, we talk about our weaknesses, and we connect with our audience in that level that hey, we're not perfect, but this is how the religion is spelled out, and it's up to you on how you want to understand it. But
hey guys, can I just read a comment that we got, and I thought it's pretty amazing. This brother Mubarak posted a thing about from a non-Muslim who's a Marine, and it kind of sums up like what he feels, and it says this: I'm a 50-year-old and a Marine corpse vet. I have been searching for the kind of discipline and humility that Khabib represents all my life. This is what it means to be a man at such a young age.
wow,
That's pretty crazy.
Is he in our chat?
Well, no, I mean the guy who posted that, but he took that from a Twitter comment from somebody else.
Oh wow,
okay. But he saw, I mean, how other people are viewing him, and this is like, it's pretty a pretty interesting insight into what a non-Muslim sees in Khabib. And I think that's one thing about being a Muslim. When you live Islam and you try to emulate the character of the Prophet as much as you can, people recognize those golden qualities, right?
Yeah.
They see, man, that is a man of character, a man of discipline, a man of restraint, And sure, Khabib has his faults. For example, he overreacted by jumping out, whatever. All of these things, we're fighting in the UFC. But there's certain characteristics influenced by his Islam that shine, that people recognize for sure.
If I could just make a few concluding points,
yeah,
Simi, before
go
I
ahead,
leave.
man.
Yeah?
For sure, man.
Brothers and sisters, the Khabib mania hype is going to die out. I give it another 5 to 7 days for the vast majority of you to stop sharing memes and videos and GIFs and all of that. Once all that dust settles, right, and you're serious about taking up MMA or contact sports, just Google if there's any gyms in your local area. It's something which I highly encourage brothers, but especially our sisters in this current climate of Islamophobia and anti-Muslim hate crime, both here in the UK and in the US and broadly speaking in Europe. For those of you who advised and told brothers and sisters not to watch the UFC and not to support brother Khabib Nurmogomedov, take the good out of what we've learned from him as a person, and try, harness and try channel the good sentiments that so many Muslims supporting him has brought out. With regards to the issue of Putin and Ramzan Kadyrov, remain principled, but also understand his reality, right? Don't make gross assumptions on what you don't know for sure. And last but not least, what I was going to say?
Bangladesh rules.
Pardon?
Bangladesh rules.
I forgot what I was going to conclude the thing on.
No, are there any Bangladeshi fighters anywhere?
Not that I know of.
I found a Bangladeshi death metal band. Have you? Yeah, they're out of Bangladesh, and they're actually pretty damn good, man. I'm not gonna lie, they're actually really good. Fantastic effort.
Total randomness about that.
Well, hey, Dilly forgot about what his topic was, so it's on him.
Does Mahin listen to him?
No, but I sent him the link, so he said he'll check him out. Mahin doesn't listen to any music, but he's anti-music. I'm the black sheep here.
You're the...
No, he's at the black. Okay, here's the thing. I listen to music, but I admit it's wrong. Like, for me, I know none of the music that is out in Hollywood today could ever be, even by the standard of ulama that said that music could be halal. None of that would fall in that category. So I'm not the type of person that says, I'm trying to halalify music. Like, for me, I listen to it, yes, not all the time. I'm not a music head, but I do listen to some of the old stuff when I was younger, or maybe some of the new things that come out. But I know it's haram. There's no doubt about it. But it's not like if I didn't listen to music for a month, I wouldn't die. You know what I mean? It's not like I have to listen to music.
Okay. Now, when you say there's no doubt about it, you're talking about the message, right? because there's differences of opinion
So
regarding
what
music.
was the Bengali death band medal? Like a message?
It's called like Power something.
Yeah, but what was the message? Like, what was the message behind the death medal?
Well, they talk about being good Muslims.
Look. Since I forgot my fourth point, I'm just gonna conclude it on this, brothers. Yeah. Look, if you guys like Khabib, if you like Khabib for the right reasons, you like Khabib for his piety, his humility, his steadfastness, his constant remembrance of Allah, his bravery in the ring and outside the ring, and all of that stuff. Take from that. Try internalize that. And learn from it. Don't just be a hype character. Don't just jump on the bandwagon because all of a sudden everyone was talking about Khabib and McGregor. Once it all dies down and the memes get boring and they've done the rounds, take something productive out of him, man. Take something productive from him. Yeah. I mean, and that's what I was going to say. For those of you who don't know Khabib or have just kind of encountering Khabib MMA, watch An Anatomy of a Fighter. What do you think, Murtaza?
Yep, I agree. But a quick shout out. We have the one and only Firas Zahabi from TriStar in our YouTube chat. Welcome.
Oh, wow. Dilly, say salam to him.
Finally.
Assalamu alaikum.
Salam alaikum.
We're huge fans of you.
Yeah, huge fan. And I'm honored that you're actually tuning into us, a little old me. But we had a pretty good breakdown of Khabib. And if you ever get a chance, we'd love to have you. I mean, I listened to your breakdown and I thought it was spot on. But pleasure.
Yeah, we referenced you a lot in our previous.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably know about 60% less about MMA if I hadn't come across you back like 5-6 years ago. I probably wouldn't know anything about MMA. So, kudos to you.
Is this brother a regular listener?
No, Firas Zahabi. He's a trainer of.
I've been a pest. I've been like tweeting at him like 100 times. I'm like, hey, come on my show. Come on the show. What do you think about this? I've been really pesting him about it. So I'm grateful that he actually didn't.
For those who don't know Firas, he's a trainer of the great. What's his name? I'm blanking.
Gracie?
No.
Trainer of the great.
GSP?
Jeez.
Yeah, George St. Pierre. Yeah. And he also trained Rory McDonald and so many other fighters go there and they get so much training out of TriStar. I mean, anyone who knows anything about MMA knows that TriStar is a spot, world-class gym.
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, no one it doesn't need any introduction.
Well, and this brother trains at TriStar?
No, he is the owner, Firas Zahabi. Yeah, he's in. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to tell you.
He's in the chat, man.
Zahabi in the text. Yeah, it's not. Just,
well, he listens to Mad Mamluks.
Yeah, he's a friend of ours.
Yeah, I mean, I've been trying to tweet at him for like a million years. I mean,
you know what we did, Dilly? We forced him to be our friend. Okay, we just kept on spamming him, and we just told him how much we loved him on Rogan's podcast and what a great job he did, and
it has to be done.
Yeah. So we
have
no shame.
I'm like that annoying fan in the text, like, "Hey, look at me, come on." No, but alhamdulillah, he came on it. So I'm glad. But no, and another thing that a lot of times people, inshallah, I'll definitely reach out to you on Twitter then. By the way, I'm Murtada on Twitter, the Mad Mamluk. I'm the one that always tags you and stuff. So I'll reach out to you. We can schedule next week, inshallah. But the thing is, I also admired him too because we heard him on the Rogan podcast, and unfortunately, sometimes we grow up in America where we hear like Muslims have Muslim names, and you don't really know how they feel about certain things. But it kind of made us a little bit proud too that Firas was really on his ground, especially in front of somebody like Joe Rogan, right? Like Joe Rogan he's
very intelligent,
very open about his belief, and he's an open atheist, and he invites people like Sam Harris and people that are very anti. Muslim. So sometimes, you can become intimidated by people of that stature, meaning that they have a huge following and they have a large podcast and a lot of influence over the field that you're in, So I respect that. I really do respect that. And inshallah, we'd love to have you on. But
honored to have you on. For any
Sorry,
closing?
I realized very later I clocked on who was on, so I'll just be like, "Who's this brother?"
Any closing thoughts, guys? I know we've had like 10 closing thoughts.
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Cool.
I actually
let's give a shout out to our sponsors. Sorry, go ahead.
I actually just extended it because Firas came in. Otherwise, I really had nothing else to say.
Oh, awesome. Cool. Let's give a shout out to halfardeen.com for sponsoring the Mad Mamluks. If you know anyone who is sad and looking at sunsets every morning, or every evening, and worried and sad about not being able to find their spouse, refer them to halfardeen.com. Get them out of their depression. This is something that's community service. You might have even Sadaqah Jariyah if they end up having babies, and then they become scholars and stuff.
Absolutely.
You're the one who that allowed that union to happen.
And make more MMA trainers. That's what we need.
Secondly, mywasiya.com. It's a website that makes Sharia wills. You can get your Sharia will made in 15 minutes. Get all your questions ready, get all your answers ready to go. You can make it in 15 minutes. You just got to go and get it notarized right afterwards, and it's a legit will, legal will. Third,
Investment.
What's their name? Why am I blanking now? I have the flu, by the way. Do you guys know that? I came in. This is like Michael Jordan coming in for the flu game.
Oh, really? Oh,
Wahed